sacrifice popularity for principle. For all these reasons, a rabbi doesn't last without some special strengths. Unlike you, when I came to this congregation, I didn't know that much about Rabbi Eisenstat's tenure. But when I started working on the history panel for the foyer and began researching the Temple Beth Israel story, I saw how much he had contributed. As I went through the congregation's scrapbooks, I saw the many fine articles he'd written for the Observer and other publications regarding important issues of the day. I was especially drawn to the important role in the community Rabbi Eisenstat played following the release of Mel Gibson's controversial film. He and Nancy's were true anchors and remain so of our congregation. Rabbi Eisenstat cares deeply about Judaism and the Jewish people, and though retired, he continues to be an avid student of our faith, history, and culture. He is a passionate Hovevei Tzion, a lover of Israel. Hinei ma tov u'manayim, how good and pleasant that we have come together here tonight to pay tribute to his efforts in sustaining and strengthening Temple Beth Israel over many years.
On behalf of the Temple Beth Israel Men's Club, I'd like to welcome all of you tonight to our tribute. It's a pleasure to see you here. I hope you had enough to eat beforehand and enjoyed the festivities there. When the Men's Club Board decided to have a tribute night, as we did last year for Florence Katz, we looked at the qualifications that we were interested in. We said this had to be somebody who was a temple leader, a community volunteer, known and loved by all. Wouldn't help if he had a good golf game, if he was able to sail well, if he was a former track star and a former swimmer. Well, the obvious choice is Rabbi Michael Eisenstat. So, before I turn the program over to our eminent MC for the evening, I want to give you a little bit of a biographical background on the rabbi, what some of his accomplishments have been. I got this together and was astounded when I saw everything that was on here. Rabbi Eisenstat served as a U.S. Air Force chaplain, as rabbi of Temple B'nai Shalom in Huntsville, Alabama, and Temple Judea in Coral Gables, Florida, before coming to Temple Beth Israel on Longboat Key in 1997. He served as president of the Huntsville Ministers Association, president of Greater Miami Rabbinical Association, and was the founding president of the Sarasota Manatee Rabbinical Association. Rabbi Eisenstat established a soup kitchen for the needy in Miami's Coconut Grove neighborhood. With Rabbi Eisenstat's influence, churches in the Coral Gables area began their own Holocaust observances. Rabbi Eisenstat was selected as one of the 100 Jewish leaders who met with Pope John Paul II on the Pope's visit to the United States. He's lectured in colleges and many churches. While serving as rabbi of Temple Beth Israel, Rabbi Eisenstat created a high level of cooperation and friendship among the different religious denominations of our community. Working with our Jewish Federation, Rabbi Eisenstat helped to convene and was the featured speaker at the largest rally of Christians and Jews ever held in this area in support of Israel. His love of teaching led the rabbi to create the Mini University of Judaism, which our congregation named in his honor upon his retirement. The Hebrew Union College has called on Rabbi Eisenstat to mentor rabbinic students. In retirement, Rabbi Eisenstat continues to teach and to mentor and to remain an active member of our congregation. He has also lent his time to congregations in the area and has conducted services aboard cruise ships. He and Nancy twice served congregations in Italy. They enjoy traveling abroad and at home. Traveling to be with their 2 children and 6 grandchildren is a great joy for both of them. course, as I mentioned, sailing and golf fill out the rest of his busy schedule. So at this point, it's my pleasure to bring up to the podium somebody who we were looking for. We were looking for a fine MC, and we found a fine MC in Shirley Fine herself. So Shirley, I'll turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Bob, for that lovely introduction. And I, too, add my words of welcome and can promise one and all a wonderful, happy evening. Inasmuch as this is a men's club function, I'll bet you're wondering, how did I become involved? Well, I'm just the girl that can't say no. And when Al Grossman asked me if I would do this, I said, okay, I'm here. If I say anything or do anything that's incorrect, embarrassing, or a problem, you have to check it out with Al, because it's up to him what goes on. And so, where is he? He's hiding from me already. There he is. Okay, he's hiding in the back. Okay. So I'll tell you, Al Grossman asked me to be part of this great program, and I said to myself, there's been somebody else that was honored by the Men's Club. We have an honorary life member of the Men's Club here, a wonderful woman, my dear friend Florence Katz. I don't know how they chose you, Florence, and I'd like to know, what are you doing with all those men? You'll have to tell me the story. It sounds good to me. I'm so happy to see you. At the outset of the planning process for this evening, it was suggested that I roast Rabbi Eisenstat. I questioned that suggestion and felt that tribute was a nicer place to be. After all, what do I really know about him? I know he is kind, helpful, a mensch of the highest degree, and now that I made friends with my computer, I Googled him to find out more. And I had the same list you had, Bob, but I'm not going to annoy anybody and read the list all over again. Rabbi is never too busy to help and answer questions. He's the modern-day answer man. And if you'll notice, every time he's around, people want to hug and kiss him. He's a walking mezuzah. Getting back to the original suggestion that I roast Rabbi, I thought about it and phoned my son-in-law in California, who is a very talented writer with a great sense of humor and very educated in all Judaic process and ritual. So I asked him, Richard, how do I roast a rabbi? And he replied very carefully, and Mom, I suggest you drop the idea. However, after giving this a bit more thought, I did come up with a recipe for roasting our wonderful honoree. I took equal parts of love, respect, admiration, and caring. I sprinkled it all with a bit of kosher salt, a dusting of paprika for color, wine for mazel, chicken fat for flavor, and thyme for the 11 years that he was our superb spiritual leader. And if I kept the temperature low, sweet and happy, and followed this recipe, I knew we would all have the most delicious roasted rabbi. I will confess that I do know a secret about the rabbi that I will share with you later on. But first, I would like to introduce our surprise guest, Rabbi and Nancy's daughter, Dory from New York City, who in turn will present a family film that she is happy to share with all of us. I'm so glad she's here, and Rabbi and Nancy are thrilled that you could be here to celebrate this occasion. So, where's the film? Where's our film, people? What's that? Is that going to do it? Come on up, Dory.
Thank you, Shirley, but film schmill, I came for the roast. When I heard my dad was being honored tonight, I thought, really? That's nice. When I heard it was a roast, I thought, really? I so got this. So, Dad, no hard feelings. I think we both kind of knew this day was inevitable. The way I see it, there is a smorgasbord of roast-worthy topics I could cover tonight, but it would probably be a shame to let those Miami Coral Gables years go by. So I will give you a soupçon of those years. In fact, as I recall, those were the years my dad fell asleep on the bimah a lot. Even the time Elie Wiesel came to speak. Schmagag. Anybody here ever witnessed one of those legendary cat naps? They're being polite? No? Really? I'm genuinely surprised. I expected some hands. Fortunately for my dad, those were the Rabbi Gorgeous years, so he had a little extra rope. In his defense, though, I'll tell you, he was burning the candle at both ends. On the one hand, he's the sole rabbi of a sizable congregation. On the other hand, he's going to school at night for a dual major over at Rabbi Charm School. It's true. All that constant congregational praise and gushing over his good looks, his broad shoulders, his chiseled calves, his exceptionally chiseled calves. They don't teach you how to handle this stuff at HUC. They don't. And sometimes I felt really bad for him. For 30 years or so, he had to squeeze himself into one fancy sports car after the next. 2 seats, only 2 seats in those things. This was the only way he could divert attention from his beautiful face. That face could cause a traffic jam. But despite this exquisite visage, my dad never let it go to his head. You know that, right? I give him credit. It really could have, but fortunately for him, his god-awful sense of humor kept getting in his way. Enter the Jackie Mason phase. Temple Beth Israel, you dodged that bullet. We think, like Jackie Mason, my dad was trying to launch his own rabbi-turned-comedian career. The only problem was the schmuck was using Jackie's material. Rookie move. Then there was the period of abbreviated Oneg Shabbats, otherwise known as the Dallas years. Remember the Ewing family, the TV show? I distinctly remember, this one's a little painful. It was March 21st, 1980, the night we couldn't stay for cookies or challah. My dad had to race home right after services ended to find out who shot JR. Kristen shot JR. It was Kristen, it still hurts, Dad. Anyway, on the plane ride over, I was reading a news story about a Republican representative from Montana, David Moore. He proposed making it illegal to wear yoga pants in public. This was in an effort to clean up the public indecency rules in Montana. Anybody know this story? No yoga pants in public? It reminded me. It was the jazzercise days of the 1980s. Remember those terry cloth sweatbands, the leg warmers, the big plastic water bottles with the accordion straws, and the skin-tight leotards? There was a woman whose one grave misstep that morning was to choose to wear her light tan-colored, kind of skin-colored leotard to the gym where the rabbi worked out at. Worlds colliding. Can you see it? This story ends with my dad being escorted out of the gym for lambasting her a tramp for wearing such a provocative outfit. He's so adorable, Mom, right? Now, I recognize this might be a little myopic of me. After all, I'm highlighting the minor infarctions of such a long, selfless, robust career, otherwise filled with accomplishments, the likes of meeting John Paul II, Menachem Begin, and even introducing my brother to Moshe Dayan, By the way, Dad, is it true that you were in a full-on chokehold by Moshe Dayan's bodyguards at the time? That's yes. I noticed that was a yes. Well, I don't know about you all, but to me, all this kind of begs the question of who should really be honored tonight, Michael or Nancy? Nancy, the spaghetti sauce is cold! Nancy, while you're up, can you get me a glass of water? You can decide this on your own, but when my parents hit their 50th anniversary a couple years ago, my family and I, overwhelming, no offense, felt that my mom really deserved most of the credit for getting there. So when the men's club asked that I introduce this video that I made to honor the milestone, you'll notice the special tribute in there to my mother. It's the least we could do, Mom. But seriously, before the video, please indulge me one more minute for the but seriously part. But seriously, Dad, while I've clearly paid attention to the many colorful sides of Michael Eisenstat, I've also paid attention to that other side, that role model, leading by example side, the one where we kids roll our eyes when we're secretly listening. You've been the patriarch of our entire extended family, our very own Abraham Soprano. You've made time for family dinners, even when you had to work late. You've led our Seders, our Thanksgivings, our Shabbat dinners, my whole life. You instilled a sense of Jewish pride in Larry, my brother, and me, and our families. You taught us how to throw a ball, and you practiced with us, and to this day with your grandchildren who worship you, by the way. And even when you're tired, you still throw a ball with us. You taught us the importance of lifelong exercise, by example. You taught us to pay attention and care about what's going on in the community and around the world, finding issues to care about that matter beyond the scope of ourselves. You taught us the importance of showing up at hospitals when someone's sick, at a rally to support a cause, at simchas, because those are the moments that matter. You taught us to show up. You've exemplified the meaning of nachs and mishpacha and all the other chuz. Doing activities as a family, never giving up on family, despite life getting in the way or geography getting in the way or even disagreements getting in the way. By the way, I was always right, you were always wrong. And you supported the paths that Larry and I took, the careers we pursued, the places we moved, the spouses we chose. And I would not call it a blind coincidence that we chose well in our mates. You've worked tirelessly your entire career well into retirement, proving that your job never really was a job or a career, but a true calling. And I've witnessed you exemplify these characteristics my whole life, and so really it's my honor to be participating in your honor tonight. I love you, I respect you, I admire you, and I thank you. But, Dad, did you really have to make me sing my entire Torah portion at my bar mitzvah? That one sticks. Okay, thank you. I know I wasn't invited to roast, but I couldn't resist.
Thank you, Dory, very, very much. That was beautiful and right to the point. Ben?
I can't remember when you weren't there, when I didn't care for anyone but you. I swear we've been through everything there is. Can't imagine anything we've missed. Can't imagine anything the two of us can't do. Through the years, you've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years.
History in the making, cartoon, so crazy right now.
I look cause they're so deep in your eyes, touch on you more and more every time. When you leave, I'm begging you not to go. Call your name 2-3 times in a row. Such a funny thing for me to try to explain. How I'm feeling and my pride is the one to blame. Cause I know I don't understand just how your love can do it, no one else can. Got me looking so crazy right now, your love got me looking so crazy right now. Got me looking so crazy right now, your touch got me looking so crazy right now. Got me hoping you page me right now, your kiss got me hoping you save me right now. Looking so crazy, your love got me looking so crazy, your love.
How were you married for 50 years? Oh, yeah. Seriously? Hi, Grandma and Grandpa. I love you. I hope you have a good and great anniversary. And I love you because you guys took me on the sanctuary and you let me stay at your house and let me swim in the pool, and we also got to go out to the Gulf of Mexico beach. Bye. Happy anniversary! Happy anniversary! Happy anniversary! Happy anniversary! Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. Can we try it now?
Sure, maybe the kids at home would like to join you.
Right on. A told B, and B told C. I meet you at the top of the coconut tree. We said D.
Wait a minute. You gotta concentrate on noogies. You can't look at the camera. Ready? Here we go. Ready? One. Oh, you're still looking at the camera. 1, 2, 3. Noogies, 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 noogies. Noogies.
And I and J and tag along K. All on their way up the coconut tree. Tick, tick, boom, boom. Will there be enough room? Look who's coming. LMNOP and QRS and TUV. Still more W and XYZ. The whole alphabet of the... Oh no! Tick, tick, boom, boom. Skit, scat, scoodle-doo, flip-flop, flea. Everybody running to the coconut tree.
Well, when I was a young man and never been kissed, I got to thinking it over, how much I had missed. So I got me a girl and I kissed her and then, oh Lordy, well I kissed her again because she had kisses sweeter than wine. She had kisses sweeter than wine.
Sweeter than wine.
Well, I asked her to marry and be my sweet wife. I told her we'd be so happy for the rest of our life. I begged her and I pleaded like a natural man. And then whoops, oh Lordy, well she gave me her hand because she had kisses sweeter than wine. She had kisses sweeter than wine.
Sweeter than wine.
Well, we worked very hard, both me and my wife, working hand in hand to have a good life. We had corn in the field and wheat in the bin, and then whoops, oh Lord, I was the father of twins because she had kisses sweeter than wine. She had kisses sweeter than wine.
Sweeter than wine.
Well, our children ain't numbered just about 4, and they all had a sweetheart, started knocking at the door. They all got married and they wouldn't hesitate. I was a whoops, oh Lord, the grandfather of 8, because she had kisses sweeter than wine. She had kisses sweeter than wine.
Sweeter than wine.
Tyler, Wesley, Levi, your grandmother and grandfather have certain things that we want to share with you. We hope your parents will prepare you and raise you in the right way. And it's by these principles that we want you to be guided. 1, 2, 3. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Ooh-ee, ting-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. We love you.
We do.
Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bang-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bang-bang. Do 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 do. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bang-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang,
Ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Excellent.
I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. And then the witch doctor, he told me what to do. He told me, ooh.
Now I ask you, was that wonderful or what? That was fantastic. And I thank you again, Dory, for doing it and bringing it to us. It's absolutely put a smile on everybody's face. And now it's time to introduce several speakers who will honor Rabbi Eisenstat with a few words of tribute. I must ask you to limit your remarks to 2 minutes. If you go over that time that I have specified, you will hear the bell. And also the bell has a history. When I was a young girl living on the farm in Connecticut, we had a 2-room schoolhouse down the road. And this was the bell that the teacher used to start the class and to announce and call us in from recess. And when they demolished the school about 15 years ago, one of my brothers went over there and found the bell and gave it to me, and I had it replated. So this is part of my history. So I would like to begin our wonderful speakers with Rose Chapman, President and CEO of Jewish Family and Children's Services. Thank you, Rose.
What a wonderful film. I must tell you, Nancy, Rabbi, what a gorgeous couple, what a gorgeous family. I don't know what to say after that. And I'm afraid of Shirley, so I'm going to have to cut 5 minutes into two. I am very afraid of Shirley. She keeps me online. So very quickly, Rabbi, I remember, she's going for the bell. She knows I can talk. I remember first time meeting you, one of our first conversations was, how is JFCS going to work with the temple, and what are we going to do for the community? And we brainstormed a lot of things. So the one thing that always comes to mind is our Senior Outreach Service Group. I can't tell you how Rabbi helped to come and bring isolated seniors into this temple, and without him we would have never been able to get this group going. Unfortunately, he stole all the thunder from the group, because at some point, the group forgot that it belonged to JFCS, and they would say, I can't wait to get to Rabbi's group. And that's what it became. It became the hour with the rabbi. Didn't matter that we had lots of volunteers, including Nancy and including lots of other people who are sitting here. It didn't matter that they cooked lunch for everybody, that we provided counseling, that we brought staff. No, it was Rabbi's group. And everybody loved you, Rabbi. The clients loved you, the volunteers loved you, we loved you. And unfortunately, at some point, we had to bring the group back to our Fruitville office. But the clients never forgave me. Every time they would see me, they would get angry and want to know why Rabbi is no longer coming and doing their group. So anytime you're free, Fridays, you're still welcome to the agency, and we can get a few of those clients still there. We'll have the hour with Rabbi. So thank you for being so wonderful and being so good to the organization, and the same to Nancy. Thank you. Did I do okay? All right.
I didn't give you the gong anyway. You're special. Kathy Brooks, our Temple Beth Israel president. Come, Kathy. We want to welcome you.
Rabbi Michael Eisenstat changed my life. In 2004, I visited Israel for the very first time. Friends had invited my husband and I to go on what I thought would be a vacation, but what turned out to be the most amazing miracle I'd ever seen. I don't know how anyone can be prepared for their first visit to Israel, but it was a life-changing experience for me. I wasn't Jewish. The day after I returned from Israel, I got into my car and drove to Temple Beth Israel. I walked in the front door, as I do every day now, went into the office and asked Mary, I'm sure many of you remember Mary, the secretary, what I would need to do to convert to Judaism. I can only imagine what she was thinking, although at this point I've seen stranger things happen in that office. It took every bit of courage I had to walk in that door. With a gulp, she said, "The rabbi is in his office," and ushered me in. I have to tell you, Rabbi Eisenstat never missed a beat. He listened to my little short story and encouraged me to take his introductory to Judaism class. I still take all of his classes. This was followed by 3 years of one-on-one study. He's smiling. He was tough. While I attended worship services here, read many books recommended by Rabbi Eisenstat, including the entire Torah, and learned about the religion. In September 2008, I stood on our bima and became a Jew. There are no words for me to thank Rabbi Eisenstat for the time and wise counsel he gave me during those 3 years. He was patient, tough, sometimes demanding, and always interesting. When I finally reached my goal, he was there to share the joy I felt. He taught me to believe in the institution of the synagogue, and that's the reason I'm standing here tonight as president. We are so fortunate that he's chosen to remain with our congregation as our Rabbi Emeritus, because he is well loved and respected by us all, especially me.
Thank you, Kathy. Lois Barson will read a letter from Rabbi Peter Kasdan, who could not be here with us tonight. Is it a 2-minute letter? Surely. Because you can read a minute now and a minute Friday.
The rabbi's away.
I don't want to give you the bell.
Good evening. Good evening. It is a privilege to have been asked to read this letter from Rabbi Kasdan to Rabbi Eisenstat. Dear Michael and Nancy, this was written March 13th. Sheila and I truly regret that we are unable to be present to witness your being deservedly roasted by TBI Men's Club. True, they announced it as a tribute, but you and I know what they really intend to do to you. As you already know, we will be leaving tomorrow for Philadelphia, where we will be attending the annual convention of the Central Conference of American Rabbis. I wish that such was not the case, because I actually enjoy watching my colleagues squirm as they are being roasted. And because one cannot truly roast a rabbi without, at the very least, zinging the Rebbitzin. Thus, we address this letter to both of you. Michael, both you and I have been blessed in our rabbinic careers with women who were more than wives and mothers. They were rabbinic partners in the true sense of the word. Nancy and Sheila, both in their own right, deserve the Congregational Medal of Honor for the assistance and support they have provided us and continue to provide to the congregations that have honored us with the title Emeritus. As an aside, I remember a moment of my own squirming in the early years of my rabbinate, when I was serving as an assistant rabbi at Temple Israel of New Rochelle, New York. I recall a day that I received a phone call from a local citizen, a non-Jew, I surmised rather quickly, who, quite seriously, wanted to know what time the afternoon sacrifice would take place on Saturday. I was stunned for what must have been like an eternity moment to the caller, and flustered, very much flustered by the question. They never taught us that when we were in school. I finally blurted out, the only roasting that will take place on Saturday, I told her, will be at our home where my wife is preparing to serve a roast beef dinner to friends. Truthfully, I cannot recall what Sheila did serve that evening, or whether we were actually entertaining friends that night, but I do know that once the words had passed my lips, the squirming ceased. Now, one cannot properly roast another person unless and until they have established some common grounding. Although we all grew up in New York City, the four of us would not meet until 1961, when Sheila and I arrived in Cincinnati to begin our trek to the rabbinate. There in the Queen City of the Midwest, the home of Skyline Chili and Grater's Ice Cream, our lives would begin to become intertwined. We were actually in the same class at HUC-JIR, the class of 1966, until the day that you and Nancy decided to leave Cincinnati to spend a year of study in Israel. And because the College Institute had not yet determined the value of that year in Israel, you received no credit for your studies there. Thus, we were ordained 1 year apart, I in 1966 and you in 1967. Sheila and I went to New Rochelle. You and Nancy went off to serve in the military. And as they say, the rest is history. Who could have predicted that after all these years, we would find ourselves sitting in the same sanctuary, in the same pews, separated only by the center aisle? Two retired rabbinic couples, still enjoying the personal interchange with congregants and congregations. Michael, I fear that while you are being roasted, you may be overcome by all the smoke and mirrors. Don't believe any of it. It's all mirage. Do not allow any of it to swell your head or enlarge your ego. Enjoy the moment, savor the words, and know that the easiest thing to remember is the truth. Yes, Michael, tomorrow morning when you awake from your slumber, Nancy will remind you to take out the garbage. So, rather than add to the savory odor arising from all the roasting, I have decided to adapt a line from William Shakespeare. I have come not to bury Michael, but to praise him. Michael, you have been a wonderful rabbi, compassionate and comforting to those in need of a shoulder to lean on, intelligent and articulate in sharing the message of generations of the Jewish people, passionate in your love and support for the people and state of Israel, and a loyal and morally upright in dealing with your congregation and community. Sadly, in our day, these are not virtues that can always be taken for granted. We have witnessed too many of our colleagues fall short of the mark. You, however, have stood head and shoulders above the rest. You have brought honor not just to your congregation and community, but to yourself. We honor you from afar and look forward to hearing all about it when we return to Longboat Key. With every good wish for for many more years of good health and happiness, and many sails into the sunset. Peter and Sheila.
Thank you, Lois. I'd like Cy Pionsky, our past president. And Cy, 2 minutes? I know, I need a timekeeper. I should have brought the bell from when I make eggs. When I make a soft-boiled egg, you know, the kitchen timer. Go, dear.
This may shock you, but like Kathy Brooks, who was president right after I was, I would not be here without Rabbi Michael Eisenstat. 3 times I have stood on this bimah and said that in the first 2 years at Temple Beth Israel, this guy, who was a former president of an Orthodox synagogue, admitted that he learned more in 2 years from Rabbi Eisenstat's Torah session on Saturday morning than I did in the Orthodox in 30 years. And I repeated this comment when I was inaugurated as president of this temple. I said that when I was president, I would not be here if it weren't for what Rabbi Michael Eisenstat taught me, and taught me to love Reform Judaism. And I said it for a 3rd time when a year ago, at my 80th birthday, my wife Carol and I and Miriam Walzer read the 10 Commandments in this synagogue on a Saturday morning, and we had 220 people. And when I brought Rabbi Eisenstat up for the first Aliyah, I said the same thing that I'm saying now. However, like Peter Kasdan and like Dory, I am not here to praise. I was here to roast. How can I roast with what I just said to you? However, let's remember the times when Rabbi Eisenstat would walk off the bimah, he would walk down into the aisle, and he would tell us something which would bring the story of the week into the Bible. It was a wonderful way. It's something that he could only do, and always would say the right thing. However, if it was an invocation, if it was a priestly blessing, Rabbi Eisenstat always had the right thing to say at the right time with the right tone of voice. Now, how can I be praising? When is it time to roast? Now. How could Rabbi Eisenstat be so perfect? What did he have that no one else had? Well, the answer is our beautiful Rebbitzin Emeritus. His Eshet Chayil. Rabbi, I toast you, and Nancy, I want a hug.
Thank you, Cy. Sheldon Paley. 2 minutes? I'm going to give you the bell. You're frightened, right?
I'm frightened. I'm very frightened. I want to tell you briefly what Rabbi Eisenstat and the temple have meant to my wife Joyce and me. It all began on a balmy evening, November 2000. A few days after we moved into our house, I was washing my car, bare-chested with my large tie hanging around my neck, when a couple saw us and stopped in the driveway, introduced themselves, and began to promote the wonders of Temple Beth Israel. The couple was Bea and Ralph Einstein. They insisted we join them for services that Friday. And lest we change our minds, they arranged to pick us up at 7:15. We are ambivalent about going due to our experience with a temple in Ohio. We were not enthusiastic over joining another one right away. What can I say? As in the movie Jerry Maguire, Rabbi Eisenstat and Temple Beth Israel had us at hello. As for our feelings, we were proud to have Rabbi lead us in services with his impeccable preparation and innovative programming. From the first day and for years to come, Joyce and I had a new commitment, a true connection to our temple family and Rabbi Eisenstat. We experienced warmth, friendship, and spiritual renewal. We were proud to work with the rabbi and fellow congregants wherever our help was needed to the temple. Outside of TBI itself, Michael Eisenstat reached out to the community, making contacts with surrounding churches and businesses, always bringing goodwill to our temple. He taught us Judaism by example, expanding pride in our heritage, touching and enriching our lives. I just had a chill go through me. Under Rabbi Eisenstat and Nancy, members joyfully joined together to keep the temple moving ever forward. In conclusion, Rabbi, I just want to thank you for the years of leadership and for our expanding our Jewish souls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheldon. Richard Olin, are you still here? I didn't know if you went out for an ice cream cone or something.
How do you do, I'm Richard Olin.
Oh, how do you do? Nice to know you.
Indeed. Good evening. When Michael and Nancy arrived in Longboat Key during their first summer, Sheila and I became friends and local guides as they began to explore their new environment. Their excitement with their good fortune to have connected with TBI was matched with our enthusiasm for our first full-time rabbi. I got to know Michael better as we collaborated on the acquisition of his first sailboat, a special event in anyone's life. His determined pursuit and his good-spirited nature helped us bond with a common goal, the joy of shared passions. Our friendship grew as Michael picked up the reins of TBI rabbinic leadership, and we watched delighted as he warmed to his role. All the time we realized how authentic Michael is. His consistent energy, integrity, and outlook always came through. Whether teaching, sailing, worshiping, golfing, or socializing, Michael was always genuine. His authentic self allowed him to become a natural connector of people, both within and outside the congregation. When we discovered our July birthdays were a day apart and we were both Leos, Michael invited us and others to a Leo luau at their home. For a while, this was an annual event enjoyed by Alice Taich, Paul and C. Skrodner, and other TBI Leos. Another example of Michael's nature as a genuine connector. Following Rabbi Saperstein would be a challenge for any rabbi. Michael connected so well with the congregants that soon it was obvious that many members enjoyed the belief that Michael Eisenstat was, quote, my rabbi. What better tribute?
Thank you, Richard. Leon Cooper. You can do it. You can do anything. And then we have one more very important speaker, and we're looking forward to our music program, which is going to be outstanding. It's going to be super duper.
I'm not going to join you.
Leon.
Forget it. Forget it. What's left to be said? They didn't tell me I was going to be last.
You're not last. You're not last. There's someone else.
And, well, in a program I seem to be last.
Well, I changed the program.
You changed, well, you just changed the time. You just took a minute and a half of my time.
All right, take 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
63 years ago, there's nothing left to be said really, but 63 years ago, I married a Reformed Jew, Rhoda. Married by her Reformed rabbi. I lent him a yarmulke, and we made our blessing over cherry herring. Did not convince me that Reformed Judaism was really Judaism. We raised our kids in a conservative synagogue, but then 18 years ago, 1996, we moved full-time to Longboat Key, and we joined Temple Beth Israel. It was convenient, it was reform, it was what Rhoda wanted. So we joined. Thank God, 1 year later, Michael Eisenstat came as rabbi. And by that time, I was well versed in Eastern European ritual. And I didn't really realize how little I knew about Judaism. I was fiercely Jewish because of anti-Semitism throughout the world. But Michael turned me. He made me a Reformed Jew, one who deeply respects Reformed Jews. And I learned to love my Judaism for its beauty, for its educational value, for its empathy for the whole world. And he brought Nancy. And Nancy was a working Rebbitzin. And she did a great deal to make Michael's dream of a university of Judaism on Longboat Key a reality. And then 7 years ago, Michael retired to do what he really wanted to do, as be a playboy. But but Nancy didn't retire. She continues to work very hard keeping the University of Judaism going on Longboat Key. Nancy and Michael are deep friends of Rhoda and I, and we love them and respect them very much.
Thank you, Thank you, Leon, very much. Is Gary Tibbetts in the room? Where is he? Where is that gentleman? Gary Tibbetts is congressional aide for Congressman Vern Buchanan and will read a letter of commendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I really appreciate being here tonight, and it's an honor and privilege for me to be here representing Congressman Buchanan. And I bring you greetings from the Congressman. Dear Rabbi Eisenstat, on behalf of the people of Florida's 16th Congressional District, I congratulate you on your retirement. Your 11 years of service as rabbi at Temple Beth Israel was greatly appreciated. Furthermore, your continued efforts in teaching and mentoring as an active member of Temple Beth Israel congregation are commendable. I applaud you for your many accomplishments, including your achievements as founding president of the Sarasota Manatee Rabbinical Association and your successful efforts to create cooperation, friendship among the different religions, denominations in the community. Moreover, I thank you for your service as chaplain in the United States Air Force. I appreciate this opportunity to join Temple Beth Israel's Men's Club in thanking you for your service and wish you health and happiness in your retirement. Sincerely, Vern Buchanan, Member of Congress.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tibbetts. I appreciate that. On behalf of the entire congregation, friends, and visitors, I thank all the speakers. Your remarks are well taken and appreciated. And now I am happy to ask Ira Singer, our in-house music maven, to introduce our very special music program. Ira, you can have more than 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, sing with your bell, we can make it a trio. Going to give Dan and Jonathan a chance to move their equipment into place. Before that, I was given the chance to say a word about my time with the rabbi. Because of my career, we moved about to various places, and there was a rabbi who had great scholarship. There was one who was a leader. There was another one who had wisdom, but nowhere did I go to find one rabbi who combined all of these characteristics. He came in 1997. Carol and I moved here and joined the temple in 1998. So we've had that privilege of having him as our rabbi, a person who did give scholarship, who gave enormous leadership, who was able to take those sermons and bring Torah-based sermons into contemporary times. He was not only a man of the cloth, he was extremely, extremely capable and competent, and how that was appreciated by all of us who had the chance to call him our rabbi. In addition to that, we had Nancy, and Nancy, who was warm, who was so friendly, who had an enormous sense of humor, who we loved, all of us, because she was not just the perfect Rebbitzin. In her own right, she was a terrific lady. And so I'd like to also point out an anecdote which I particularly enjoyed, and you don't know anything about. The rabbi was a star running back for Sewanaka High School on Long Island, a football powerhouse. In the same county I served as district superintendent of schools. Rumor had it that before each game, he met with the opposing team and told them that he was entering the rabbinate and said to them, "Do you want to risk hurting a man of God?" That year, he led the league in rushing. And now my real pleasure here, in addition to the chance to say those things to the rabbi on behalf of my wife Carol and myself. Dan Jordan has been with the Sarasota Symphony since '98. Jonathan was since '91 or '91. And if you have had the privilege of hearing these men play at a symphony evening or at a chamber music soiree, you would marvel at the enormous talent that each of them has. Dan, with his solos, and recently at the ballet, when they did Stravinsky's Apollo, there was a violin solo that was so beautifully done that Dan was asked to take 2 curtain bows on the stage after the selection was completed. He and Jonathan have played together all these years and made very beautiful music. If you hear chamber at the symphony or at the soiree, whether it's Beethoven, Mozart, Schubert, both Dan and Jonathan will make you leave happy. And so it is with this chance to give thanks to them for their willingness to come and do this for the rabbi. And also, the rabbi, for these years has had to listen to Jewish liturgy at every one of the services and has chanted most of Jewish liturgy. And so here's a chance to hear how that Jewish liturgy has affected the classical repertoire. And one of the composers who was so affected was Ernest Bloch. And Dan Jordan will introduce the program, and I'm sure you'll have a wonderful evening listening. Thank you.
Test, 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 test.
I will speak directly into the microphone. Can you all hear me? I speak for Jonathan and thanking you for inviting us to participate in this most amazing occasion. We were both sitting in the back there listening to all of these tributes. Am I doing something wrong? Okay. Marveling at this wonderful occasion. I think the piece, I actually have two pieces to play for you. One is just a little encore at the end, but the main portion of the program is a piece written by Ernest Bloch called the Baal Shem Suite, and subtitled 3 Pictures of Hasidic Life. I want to start by telling you that my Jewish education, I am half Jewish, my mother was Jewish, and I did have some Jewish education, but it ended when I had to choose between synagogue and youth orchestra on Saturday mornings at the age of 11, and so that was actually as far as I got in a formal sense, although the Jewish faith has always been something that's been important to me and something that I've continued to be interested in. This particular composer, Ernest Bloch, and I actually have a connection as well. He was born in 1880 in Geneva, Switzerland, and he started studying the violin at the age of 9. And he studied with a very famous violinist and composer named Eugene Izai. So he had quite a violin career, but he became more interested in composition, and he emigrated to the United States in 1916, and he moved to New York, and while he was there, he went to a religious service, a Hasidic religious service, and he was quite taken by the service, and he and I share a bond with him in this as well, I think, because he too stopped his religious education. He did make it to his bar mitzvah at 13, but then he too pursued music and didn't go any further, and he always felt very insecure about that. And so he would go to services, but he always was very shy at the services because he felt like his education didn't lend himself to being able to talk very intelligently with the people around him. Hasidism was a perfect sort of movement for him because I'll just read the definition that I found. It was a mystical movement that arose in Eastern Europe as a reaction against the perceived rabbinical intellectualism of traditional Jewish orthodoxy in the 18th century, and which placed great emphasis upon song, dance, and ecstasy as channels for direct communication with God. So here was a wonderful musician, one of the best in the world, who now found his vehicle for expressing his Judaism through music. And I always liked that about this particular composer. I got to know his music fairly early in my life as I got my education, my bachelor's and master's degree from the Cleveland Institute of Music. And Ernest Bloch was the first director of the Cleveland Institute of Music. The school was founded in 1920, and he was the first director from 1920 to 1925. So when I went to school there, I knew about him. I'd see his picture on the wall every day when I went to school, and I was interested in his music. He did not classify himself as a Jewish composer. He didn't want to be pigeonholed in that way, but his two most famous pieces, or at least most often performed pieces, are this Baal Shem suite that I'm going to play, and also a cello piece called Shlomo. So he ended up having a kind of symbolic relationship, a really meaningful relationship between his music and the Jewish faith. So I'm not going to talk too much longer because I don't want to get the bell. But this particular piece was written in 1923 while he was the director of the Cleveland Institute. One other connection I have with it is that it was written 2 years after his mother Sophie passed away, and he dedicated it to her. And I played this piece. My mother died of ovarian cancer when she was quite young, and I was only 23 years old, and I performed this piece at her memorial service. So it has a special place in my heart, it has a special place in my history, and I do feel a connection with Ernest Bloch for that reason as well. It's broken into 3 movements. And again, I apologize if I don't pronounce all of this particularly well, but the first is called Vidui, or Vidui. Am I getting that kind of close? Which means contrition, and it was it refers to a confessional prayer that's recited on one's deathbed. Nigun is the second movement. It's an improvisation. And in the Hasidic context, the word nigun means to take both the performer and the listener to transcendental realms of spirituality. And the third and final movement is called Simchas Torah, the Festival of Rejoicing, and it's inspired by the end of the Sabbath when the Torah scrolls are carried in procession around the synagogue. So the piece is about 15 minutes long, and we hope you enjoy Ernest Bloch's Baal Shem Suite.
stand for would you introduce your accomplishments, please?
I think I never did, but I will.
Thank you.
Did I get it working? Yes. The request was to introduce my accompanist, Mr. Jonathan Spivey, who I indeed have played with a great many times over the years, and it is always a pleasure. So thank you for being with me. Ira said that I am to open up the floor for any questions that you may have of me or Jonathan. Before I do that, I wanted to read you one quote that I had from Ernest Bloch about his music and Judaism in his music that I found to be very personal and quite moving. He wrote, "What interests me is the Jewish soul, the enigmatic, ardent, turbulent soul that I feel vibrating throughout the Bible. It is all this that I endeavor to hear in myself and to transcribe into my music, the venerable emotion of the race that slumbers way down in our souls." And I think it's a really, so much of that music that I just played is really, it's very spiritual. I mean, the last movement obviously is more of a party, but the first two movements are quite introspective, and you can really feel that emotion in Bloch's music. So before I play we play our final little encore for you tonight, does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Could you give us the title again, please?
The piece I just played was called Baal Shem, Baalshem, 3 pictures of Hasidic life. Yes.
Didn't you write a great deal of choral music for synagogue?
He didn't, as I said, he didn't want to be typecast, but he did write a lot of choral music for synagogue. And he did a lot of that later in life when he had sort of retired to the Oregon coast, and he wrote a lot of choral music for his synagogue there that continues to be sung today. The question was, is there any Jewish music that isn't written in a minor key? And I don't think I know of any. That's a very, very good question, something that somebody has probably researched, and I'm sure it does exist, but certainly most of the music that I've played that has a Jewish connection is in a minor key. That last movement was pretty happy and major, yes.
I have an unrelated to tonight's performance question. With a new artistic director, conductor, who is away a lot, how do you handle all that's on your shoulders as concertmaster?
The question was related to the Sarasota Orchestra and our new music director, who happens to live in Estonia and is only in Sarasota for 3 months of the year. How the rest of the season, which is 9 months long, 10 months if you include Sarasota Music Festival, how the rest of the season sort of functions. And my role as concertmaster is that I do take on more of a leadership responsibility when Anu is out of town. When she is in town as well, she expects a lot of her leaders. You can probably tell she is a very demanding lady with the orchestra, but she gets wonderful results. And in this day and age, with the internet and Skype and all of the different ways, email, all the different ways of communicating, living on the other side of the world is not as much of a problem as it might have been 25 years ago. So our administration is in constant contact with her. I stay in touch with her when she's not in town, and she does still keep her finger on the artistic pulse of the Sarasota Orchestra, whether she's in town or not.
You do a great job.
Thank you. So we're going to close with a piece. I don't know if any of you come to our pop series. Do any of you come to our pop series? I played a piece with the orchestra back in January. It was an arrangement of Fiddler on the Roof. Was anybody at that? Okay, a few people. So there is a violin and piano arrangement of that I'm going to play for you. It's short. This piece was composed by John Williams. The original music to Fiddler on the Roof was written by Jerry Bach for the 1964 musical, which won a Tony, and he won a Tony. And the film music was written by John Williams, and the opening credits were composed for a Jewish violinist you might have heard of named Isaac Stern. And so it's he got his money's worth out of Isaac Stern on this one. But this is a wonderful arrangement. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here, and congratulations on what an incredible evening. Here's John Williams' arrangement of Fiddler on the Roof.
It was beautiful, beautiful, thank you, meaningful. Everybody loved it, right? It was a treat, a special treat. Now, before I call on Roger Goldstein, co-president of the Men's Club, to present a special gift to Rabbi Eisenstat, I have a few words of my own. And as my, I've got some funny stuff coming up. And as my dear husband of blessed memory used to say, Shirley, your stories are too long, start in the middle. So I'm going to start in the middle. It is said that behind every successful man there's a special woman, and Nancy is that woman. During the rabbi's time on the pulpit here, the 11 years, many of us ladies wanted to take Nancy to lunch, or she should go shopping with us, but she couldn't make it. She was busy. She was too busy to be seen. We didn't know what she was doing. And then one day she said to me, I'm doing research. Well, I couldn't imagine. Maybe she's writing a book. So I asked May Lavinson and Ruth Engman to follow her and find out. I asked them to be my spies. And one day they came upon Nancy here in our wonderful library, poring over all the volumes of the Judaica Encyclopedia. And she was busy, and they said, Nancy, what are you doing? She said, I'm doing research, and it's a secret, and don't talk to me. Okay. But they persisted, and they found out. She finally confessed. She was the one that had written all the sermons for the rabbi. So Nancy, come on up. I have something for you. And now I told the secret, right? I told the secret. We want to honor you for your support, your caring, for being the special person that you are. And the Men's Club wants you to have a rose. Roses for a rose. Thank you, dear, for everything. Now, I also know a secret about the rabbi. I found out that Rabbi gets up every morning at 5 o'clock, takes a flashlight, and goes out into the darkness. He does this day after day, leaving Nancy alone. So I asked Alan Goldfarb to follow him and scout out his actions. Well, they found the rabbi creeping around the golf course on the 9th hole, and seeing the flashlight, they assumed he lost his wallet or he lost the keys to his car. No, he said he didn't. He was looking for a hole-in-one. So Alan told him, you don't find it, you have to make it when you hit the little ball with the big stick into the hole. So Rabbi, I hope you will find your hole-in-one. And we know where to find you if we're looking for you. Roger Goldstein, is he here?
No.
Well, you look like Roger Goldstein, it's okay. And after you receive your gift, Rabbi, will you please come and give a response? Thank you. We're anxiously awaiting your words.
Rabbi, on behalf of the congregation and the Jewish community on Longboat Key, the Men's Club would like to present this nice little token of our appreciation to you. On a personal note, Judy and I are just so honored and pleased to know Rabbi and Nancy on a personal basis, two lovely individuals.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Men's Club, and thank you, Temple Beth Israel. Bob Victor and Roger as co-presidents, and all who put this wonderful evening together. First thing I did when I walked into the social hall and saw all this wonderful food was to look for the baked goods, to see had Sylvia Pastor and Doris Kaplan done their thing for me, and they did, and it was just beautiful, and I appreciate it so much. I appreciate all the decorations that were done, Judy Victor, and all the arrangements that were made by Irv Barnett, and Al Grossman, the chairman of the evening. Special thanks to you, to all you do and have always done. I've known Al for many, many years through what was then the Union of American Hebrew Congregations, and now the Union for Reform Judaism. So in that sense, we go back many, many years, many, many conventions. My wife, Nancy, well, my thanks to her are unending. She's with me through thick and thin, a lot of the thin, a lot of the thick. There were so many times when she was with me during surgery. She was with me when I had terrible back problems years ago. She was with me in times of trouble. And I finally realized, Nancy, you're a jinx. But, it's really, really nice to be remembered this way. Truly it is. Although I must confess that as I heard some of these tributes, it reminded me of a time early on in my rabbinate when I was called upon to officiate at a funeral. I really didn't know the individual whose funeral I was officiating at, and I got a few comments, and I thought, gee, this is almost the first funeral for me. I've really got to do something special. And so I really poured it on. And halfway through the eulogy, man comes up, I'm standing here, coffin is here, man comes up. And I said, sir, afterwards, I approached him, I said, what were you doing? He said, I wasn't so sure I was at the right funeral. Well, I guess it's nice to be buried that way. But truly, I appreciate this. It is nice. It's nice to be remembered. It's a wonderful thing. Being a rabbi emeritus is sometimes difficult, seriously. I've attended any number of conventions of retired rabbis, and one of the complaints that I've heard really makes me feel very fortunate, because many retired rabbis don't have the opportunity in the congregation from which they have retired to participate, to be part of not only part of congregational life, but also to continue contributing what they have to offer. And I feel I've been very blessed by Rabbi Jonathan Katz, who's been most generous to me in opportunities teach, to be on the pulpit, and so on. So I thank you, Rabbi Katz. The most important thing to me in my retirement has been the opportunity to do what I really, really loved, and that's simply to be Jewish. I remember when my kids were little, and at dinner one time, one or both of them asked, "Dad, if you weren't the rabbi, would you still be doing all this? Would you still be doing Birkat Hamazon? Would you still be going to temple if you didn't have to do it?" And of course I answered, yes, yes. But as I moved on toward retirement, the question arose in my own mind, and Nancy with me. What will we do? Will we go to Friday night services every Friday night? Will we go on Saturday mornings when we could really sleep in and take it easy and not have to get up and worry? I really didn't know the answer until I retired. And the answer was yes. Yes, we did. And we continued to go Friday night, Saturday morning, because it's part of our being. And that is what I hope I left with as a legacy to the congregation, that being Jewish is really important. It's been important in my life. I hope I've made it important in the lives of some of you, and I hope that you, by your lives, can make it important to others as well. Because to be a Jew is to be a decent person, to be a kind person, not a perfect person, not a saint. And I sure am no saint. But Judaism is a path. There are other paths. There are Catholic paths, Protestant paths, Jewish paths, Hindu paths, Muslim paths. Our way is the Jewish way. And it is our way to give back to a world, to give back to this country, to give back to our people, the blessings that we enjoy. And that's all I want to do, to give back to our community and to our broader community some of the blessings with which Nancy and I have been blessed. And you make it possible, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you, Shirley, too. What a great job.
I thank you all for coming and sharing this spectacular evening. And I hope all the wonderful speakers and the sensational music and honoring Rabbi Eisenstat and Nancy put a smile on your face and love in your heart. Good night. Go in good health. Can I ring the bell just once? Thank you, thank you. I've had some successful roasts here. A year ago, I did Florence Cats, and it was successful. And the year before that, they asked me to do a program honoring the custodian that was here 18 years. He's still here. Yeah, David is still here. Yeah. And that went over very well also. And he was very responsive. He said, I'm here 18 years. They never gave me an aliyah. They didn't ask me to blow the shofar. So Rabbi took out the shofar and said, all right, see what you can do. He blew the shofar. He'd been practicing because he knew we were having this evening. Yeah. So, thank you. Nice to see you. It's always nice to get together for a simple